We're live.
Championship weekend has come and gone, and this past weekend, we crowned 4 new champions in the sport of NASCAR. Eddie Kalegi, Adam Tropper, they were at Phoenix, and you can get everything that they covered on YouTube as well as other platforms, Instagram and so on, if you want to see what happened. But from Tim Moore here, Jewah, Tyrell Baker, Declan Wayman couldn't make it tonight, but we will have him on a future episode. What a weekend it was at Phoenix. And we're going to start things real quick off with their pit stop because, to be honest with you, there's not much of a pit stop we're going to have, which is why I'm going to do it real quick. To start things off in the weekend, it was the Craftsman Truck Series that got things going. And, well, Corey Heim, as we know, went on to win the championship, but everything that will be remembered from that race isn't the fact that the 11 dominated or the fact that pretty much there was chaos in the middle portions, but it was the fact that Corey Heim made a 7-wide move. What I, by the way, and we'll talk about it in a little bit, in my opinion, may be the greatest pass in the sport's history to go on 4 tires to make the gutsy call to end up winning the race, the restart after, and picking up the almighty Craftsman Truck Series championship that he's been desiring now for a couple seasons in what has been a historic year, ended up being the first champion of the weekend. Then, well, to be honest with you, I'm going to be honest, I didn't see it. I don't think you guys saw it, but Trevor Huddleston won the ARCA West Menard Series championship on Saturday morning. He pretty much earned that throughout the season, and unlike NASCAR's current format, a full season format in ARCA, of course, I know the West Series only has a certain amount of abbreviated races. The main series and E-Series championships were already decided earlier with Isaac Kitzmiller and Brendan Butterbean Queen winning those championships. So Huddleston in the West portion ends up sealing his portion of the championship in that Saturday afternoon. And then, well, it came to the prime time on Saturday night, just like it was on Friday night. And, well, this is where the controversy began, because I don't think there's a single person that sits here and disagrees that Connor Zilisch, with the year he had, should have won or shouldn't have won the NASCAR Xfinity Series championship, soon to be the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series next season. But when it was all said and done, it was his best friend and ultimately his compadre, his biggest rival, Jesse Love, stealing the championship away, who had, by the way, I would say the second best car throughout the night. But at the end of the day, in a win in Euro Champion format, Jesse Love picked up his first Xfinity Series championship. By the way, a big one for RCR, who really, it's been a bit of time since you have to go all the way back to Tyler Reddick since they last won an Xfinity Series championship. And on Sunday, well, I'm sure that's what we're going to talk about here in a moment, but Denny Hamlin dominated. And really, the Final Four, I'll put it like this throughout the day. Every single driver in the Final Four had some sort of tire problem from start to finish. Denny Hamlin had the cleanest day. He dominated most of the day. And yet again, just like really the truck race, late cautions, anarchy setting things up, Denny Hamlin, based off an educated decision, and his crew chief, Chris Gale, opted to take 4 tires. And the same thing as well for Chase Briscoe, by the way, after William Byron cut down a tire to bring out that caution. And long story short, Kyle Larson took 2, and Kyle Larson restarted 5th on the outside, past teammate Alex Bowman, and never looked back at Denny Hamlin, who could not get through the traffic on 4 fresh tires to win his second NASCAR Cup Series championship. And I know there's not a lot of people that like it because Denny Hamlin dominated that race. But I'll say it like this. At the end of the day, whether you like it or not, hopefully this format is finished. But to not go at the haters, the overall champion at the end of the year won the championship, whether you like it or not, that being Kyle Larson. And that is our pit stop because, listen, I'm going to be honest, this episode's going to be about debating. It's going to be about controversy. And I've got to start things off with you, Drew, because last night you were irate, you were frustrated that Kyle Larson won the championship, but I don't think it was all about Kyle Larson. What were you so upset and mad about? That's what I want to know. What grinded your gears that much that Kyle Larson won the championship?
It's a multitude of things. I think it starts with the fact that he led 0 laps during the race. He was the only playoff 4 driver who led 0 laps. And yes, he might have won the overall championship, and I can't disagree that. You know, everybody says long season and all this. I mean, Denny Hamlin would have raced differently at Talladega. I mean, it's all comes down to circumstance. Um, Unfortunately, Denny Hamlin drove a perfect race until the final 3 laps. It came down to the strategy call with Chris Gale, and he says 4. Obviously, I think that Chris Gale already is probably up in arms with himself. I mean, it's hard to look back at that and think, 2 tires. I mean, it's just it's unfortunate. As someone who has had issues, my dad has had issues and has been sick for a while. I would have loved to see Denny Hamlin get a championship. He's been this year. I feel like he's kind of went all Kyle Busch in the sense that he's opened up and he's been more personable and personality. I've always loved personality, and I think what Denny Hamlin's been doing this last year and a half, it's the reason why everybody wanted him to win a championship. Not everybody, but it would have been so nice. I mean, it would probably have been one of the most beautiful things in NASCAR, up there with Dale Earnhardt winning the 500 on his 20th try, Denny Hamlin winning his first championship with his dad sick. I mean, they reported saying that he might not make it to next year. So it would have been a beautiful story, for tire issues. And I can't really blame Goodyear, but you can at the same time. Everybody goes under the pressures, the recommended pressures. So just when you can't go more than 35 laps on a set of tires, it's kind of embarrassing. So can't blame William Byron. He apologized. I saw that too. So that's why I was up in arms. Denny Hamlin won it fair and square. He ran away, had almost 4 seconds on William Byron before he blew a tire. Bad strategy call and lost the championship.
Well, my question to you, real quick, is had Kyle Larson done what William Byron did earlier on the race, would you have felt differently about him winning the championship?
What do you mean by that?
So, had he had led laps like William Byron did and showed that maybe he was the second best car throughout the day, would have you felt differently about him winning the championship?
I would think so. I mean, he was borderline third, fourth all day. I mean, he was behind the 8 ball on his teammate. Briscoe, who had struggles all day, was still running ahead of Kyle Larson. I mean, Briscoe. I want to talk about Chase Briscoe, and he did not get enough credit for what he did during that race. He blew 2 tires, started the back 3 times, and gave himself a chance to win. He took 2 tires. 2 tires didn't really work after 60. No, it's not 60. It was like 40 laps the first time. Him and Kyle Larson definitely put the right strategy there and gave themselves a chance. Denny Hamlin was able to pull away, and but yeah, Chase Briscoe, fought back. They've been doing that all year, so I wasn't really surprised. But it all comes down to Kyle Larson just wasn't really there. He ran second, I believe, the start of the stage, and just had nothing for Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin had that issue on pit road. Kyle Larson still isn't there, really. I can't really say that he wasn't there. That's something I have to come to terms with. He was there. He was top 10 all day. Just wasn't, second, first.
It could be with your take on Larson winning now his second championship.
Well, I'll tell you this. I watched the entire race, obviously, and I was with my girlfriend's parents. We're all Denny Hamlin fans, and this is all going to be strictly unbiased. I watched Denny drive away with it, and Byron passed him, obviously, in stage 1 or whatever it was, and then Denny just pretty much dominated the rest of the day. And then I was kind of like, I can feel something's going to happen. I mean, obviously, we had tire issues all day long, but I could just feel it, like something was going to happen. The yellow was going to come out. And when it did, I was like, oh, of course. So I was thinking either Denny would stay out, take 2. I knew, I kind of had a feeling maybe they would take 4, being that the Corey Heim thing is like the biggest thing of the weekend, right? 7 wide, 4 tires, he wins the championship. So I feel like everyone had all their eggs in a basket on that. Like, that's how you're going to win the championship on this last restart. So I understand why he did it. Do I hate that he did it? Yes. I wish they took the gamble. It took 2, but you just don't know. You don't know what you don't know. So take the safest option, was just take 4. And then Larson obviously took 2, which was the greater move, obviously. And obviously he ended up winning. Now, with that being said, it was honestly, you know what, Tim and Drew, it was the weirdest feeling I'd ever felt at the end of a NASCAR season or race. Honestly, like, not that I was that invested for Denny to win. I took myself out of it at the time, and I was like, wow, like this it just felt flat. It felt really flat. Like, if you also think about it, I'm going to go a little bit off here. They didn't even say who won the race at the call. Like, nobody knew Blaney won. That's the funniest thing. Like, I remember vividly when Blaney won. I was like, oh, Blaney won. And then, like, they say, oh, Larson wins the championship. And everyone in the room is silent but me, because I yelled Blaney won. And then it just set in. And I'm like, Larson didn't lead a lap. And he finished 3rd. He didn't even win the race. Like, what? And I know all week everyone said, oh, this is wide open. Like, this is for anyone to win. So I'm thinking, okay, if Larson wins or if Briscoe wins, like, I'm not going to be mad. And I remember telling my girlfriend at the time, you know, whoever wins this championship, I won't be mad. Well, actually, you know what? I was mad. I was quite mad because of how it happened.
Exactly.
Like, it's crazy to win a championship by, I guess, finishing 3rd, which is not that's, I don't know how I really feel about that, to be honest. My mind is just still spinning over this whole thing. But just to wrap up, my feelings on it, I think it's ridiculous. I will say, as a NASCAR fan that's been watching vigorously since 2004, I kind of did like the playoffs. So, like, growing up into it, I kind of like the one race, you know, winner take all thing. And then as I got older, I started realizing, man, this is getting really, like, kind of stale and dumb. Like, they really needed to change it. Now seeing that, okay, there's change on the horizon. And I was going into this weekend being like, this is the big last hurrah for this. Hopefully nothing falls flat. Hopefully the right people win, right? Except for Cup, like I said, wide open. Hoping, no, obviously, Corey Heim stopped the anarchy on Friday. The anarchy blasted out on Saturday when Zilch didn't win. My girlfriend cried. And then Sunday, obviously, the anarchy, just because of what happened, is just crazy. And I'm really, really hoping that they change it. I don't know if they're going to do a 10 race chase, which is what I personally hope for, or even, honestly, I'm also for the full season at this point. But I'm disappointed, just to say the least.
But the other thing too, and either of you guys can answer this, but is this worse than Matt Craftsman's championship? If you think about it, is it worse? Because the difference is Kyle Larson's won races this season, but how the race played out, is it worse? I don't know. It's hard to say.
I personally, it's a fair take. I don't think it is. I don't think it's worse than Matt Crafton. I think that's
for the record, I don't think it is either.
I
think
that's
it is
probably the most abysmal thing about, like, if all of the playoffs. I mean, winning 0 races and you can win a championship. And I'm not saying that he wasn't consistent. He was consistent enough to be there. But in any other playoff format, he would never win a championship. You have to win races to win championships. And that might just be thinking playoff-wise. But going back, I want to say one last thing about Denny Hamlin. I do agree with TCV. We kind of touched up on the same things. It's like, it's hard for me, and I think we're just spoiled with the fact that almost every single winner of the final race has been the champion. Maybe aside from Ross Chastain. And maybe we were spoiled by that. But for someone to lead 0 laps and win in a format where it's the best finisher, just doesn't sit right with me. And I think it has a lot of things to do with tire circumstance, pit strategy, and ultimately leading no laps. So
I want to hop in here. Sorry, Tim.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead with Drew, man. I mean, honestly, thinking about it now, from what you said, also in that motion, and that emotions that I had at the end of the race, realizing, again, Larson didn't lead any laps, but just Denny leading 208 laps, and than for him to not like win the championship. You know what? I also asked my girlfriend yesterday after the race, a few hours after the race, and I'm sorry for dropping her so much, but she's also a new race fan. So this is kind of like where I can feed off of her on things. But I asked her, I was like, so, you know, Larson winning the championship, like, how does that really make you feel, being that Denny led so many laps? Like, do you feel satisfied with it? And she was like, not really. I kind of like Larson, but not really. She said he didn't really earn it in that race, which is 100% what I agree with. I don't care that. Well, I shouldn't say that. Let me rephrase that. I'm more of upset that Larson didn't earn it. Like, he didn't run. Obviously, he didn't lead any laps, so he didn't earn the race win, quote unquote, the championship. He didn't earn it to me. Finishing third doesn't earn it when you lead 0 laps. And when you run 7th or 6th or 5th all day and you just snatch the championship away, you didn't earn it in that one instance. Now, since it's a big one race extravaganza, right? He didn't earn the extravaganza trip to Hawaii with the championship and everything. He didn't earn it. He basically just stole it.
Well, I'm going to give this comparison real quick because I spent a good bit of time last night thinking about this, of like the comparison. Because at first I wanted to compare it to the New York Giants blowing the lead against the Denver Broncos. Then I wanted to compare it to the Falcons Super Bowl. But realistically, the best comparison, truthfully, because the difference is that a lot had to go wrong for those two things to happen to lose the game. That was not the case for Denny Hamlin yesterday. The best example I can genuinely put together is Game 7 of the World Series the other night.
Okay, that's where
Toronto went every step of the way with the lead, dominated the Dodgers. And then the ninth happened. Or say really the eighth home run started to change momentum, and then the ninth happened. For Denny Hamlin, it was things got going. And the way I view the eighth was the first time he lost the lead when he had the flat tire under caution. The pit crew, by the way, all the issues that 11 team had all year long with everybody in the pit crew, they redeemed themselves and minimized what was a bad situation right there. Then he finds himself back to the lead. There he's dominating. And then the ninth happened and the solo home run happens. And now you go to extras, and it comes down to how you react when the momentum's against you. And I'm not saying Denny didn't react, he didn't do whatever, but with this format, sometimes you have to make hard decisions. I don't know. There's two ways I view it. I don't think with how bad tires have been, could you have anticipated that 34 lap bowl tires, which is what I believe Brad Keselowski was on there at the end, could have potentially won him the championship? No, right? Do you think that 2 tires, obviously that was the winning call, would have lasted with how the left rears? Because, I mean, we saw Denny Hamlin, remember, had a flat left rear tire. It wasn't a right tire. So do you take that risk? I don't know. So to me, if I'm Chris Gale, the circumstances with how things worked, and again, I know these teams are setting the limits of the tires. It's hard. I think you can live with yourself at the end of the day, losing this championship, not because it's a one race and whoever's the champion's champion. You made the best decision based on your scenario. Kyle Larson cut down a right front tire, but it wasn't because they tested the limits. It was because something with the bead melted or so on. And they already tested right side tires throughout the day. What did Denny Hamlin do throughout the day, by the way, guys, if you remember? He pushed the pace early and really tested where their tires can go. They knew their limits. So to me, at the end of the day, for Denny Hamlin, you put everything together, and unfortunately, one restart, the 10th inning of the World Series. I don't even know how many innings the World Series went Game 7 the other day, because it was that damn long. 11, thank you. The point is, at the end of the day, you were one play away. And truthfully, I know, for example, Drew, I know initially you were mad at Bowman kind of pulling over. To me, Joey Logano's the one in that way in the instance, but he's trying to win a race too, and he's on 2 tires.
Oh, I just blame anybody I could see. I'm not going to lie to you.
Oh, no, absolutely. I hear you. But what I'm saying is that it just comes down to, unfortunately for Denny Hamlin, you were the wrong person at the wrong time to have something go bad for. And I think we all agree. Listen, I was the first person, and I'm very vocal, to say am a part of the club that never wanted to see Denny Hamlin win a championship, but not because I want to see Denny fail. I don't want to see Denny win a championship because I think it tells how hard this sport is, that you can win every race there is to offer, everything this sport in general has to offer, and yet you still don't walk out a champion. That tells the difficulty of being a champion. And again, yesterday, I'm along the side of, listen, I would have loved, considering Denny's circumstances and everything, to say that he walks out a champion and that he earned it. And for the record, he earned his chance at a championship. But unfortunately, things didn't work out. And one more thing I'll say too, regarding just this. When you look at it again, Kyle Larson, right, was the overall champion. But when you look at this stretch of the four, if you're an arguer like me, for example, TCB, you mentioned the 10 race chase format. When you look at the playoffs, and I know you can't compare because yes, the drivers do race them differently, but Denny Hamlin did not. When you look at the four, William Byron was the worst, by the way, of the four. William Byron had a lot of mishaps during this playoff. Stage points bailed him out. Things had him, but William Byron was what I would use as the example of Denny Hamlin. If you go back to 2020, when he won all those races and so on, that was what William Byron felt like to me in the playoffs in terms of his consistency. I'm sorry. Well, yes, Harvick missed the Final Four, but Hamlin also won a lot of races. You know what I'm saying? Hamlin won a lot of races too, but Denny had he had that fluke Talladega win, which still, to my opinion today, should have been a penalty. And then he had one other top 10. I think it was Dover or whatever throughout the rest of the playoffs. He kind of backed his way into the final rounds is what I'm saying. That's what it kind of felt for William Byron, even though he won in that Game 7 moment in Martinsville.
I do want to mention one more thing for Kyle Larson, and this might be me just being trying to pick at strings, but if you look at his last win in the Cup Series is in May. He won at Kansas.
Yep.
That was, I think, 26. I think that was race 10 or 11. So about over 20 races ago. That, I'm not saying he doesn't deserve to be a champion because he won stages between then. It's just hard for me to say a champion's last win was in May. That was the last thing I had to say.
If you think about it too, you think back, I'm going way back, 2003, Matt Kenseth, he only won one race, and that was back at Vegas, but that was the third race of the season or something like that too. So it's kind of got a little bit of similarities to that. Obviously no stage racing at the time or anything, but.
Well, if you go on the Winston format, I mean, I know Christopher Bell wins that Bristol race off of Anarchy, but if you look at it, Christopher Bell won 3 races towards the start of the year. And then he had to wait very, very long to win again, and he would have been the Winston champion, for example. My point is this, though, is what I was going to say real quick, and it'll be the last thing I say about it. It's just more of, if you look at how the averages went, Chase Briscoe had the best playoff of anybody. In my opinion, if you want to make a case of the most consistent champion and using that chase format, Chase Briscoe should have been the Cup Series champion and was also, in terms of the Winston battle, in the mix to win the championship ultimately. Right. So it comes down to, again, what are your preferences? In my opinion, and again, I know all 36 format and a lot of guys are talking about it, and I don't know how you guys feel, but to me, there needs to be a playoff in NASCAR still. It just doesn't need to be this format. That is all. The best of the best teams, yes, and I understand rewarding from start to finish, and I get that. It has nothing to do about things being boring for me. It comes down to the fact that there's a lot of people who have really good seasons, but a full season format doesn't reward them based off a championship season. Again, Chase Briscoe, if you look at it, had a lot of top 5s and a lot of issues at the start of the year. And then he won Pocono and so on, and things really started clicking for the 19 team. Had it been a 36 race format and so on, yes, I understand based off the Winston format, Chase Briscoe was in the mix, but where was he? Does anybody even know? Because honestly, I didn't look. Well, where was he in full points based off this point system?
I think
through 36. What was it?
I think 5th. I'd have to look it up. I remember seeing it. He's at least top 5. I mean, if he's second in the regular, then I would assume in the Winston, then I would assume he's at least up there. But yeah, he was up there all year, and I gotta give him credit. I know they don't do a most improved driver, and it's kind of hard to give him most improved driver because he did go pretty far with Stuart Haas last year, but I'll be one to say I did not expect him to win races, maybe even make the playoffs. I mean, that 19's car struggled last year to win races, so for him to step into that car, he won the most poles, and make the Final Four, and honestly had a great shot if things go his way and he doesn't blow 2 tires. So gotta go credit
Briscoe. Sorry, Briscoe was 6th in points.
Okay.
So it's like if you basically, my point is that at the end of the day, you can argue Chase Briscoe had a championship caliber season. There's some people that I would argue at the end of the day had championship caliber seasons. It's just at the end of the day, with how the playoff format is, you don't get rewarded with it. Yes, we got rewarded with the overall points leader winning the championship, but only 4 make the Final Four, right? And 1 race decides a champion. I think that some races should have more value than others in regards to where they hold deciding a champion. Yes, I think we all agree the Daytona 500 is the most popular. It's the biggest race NASCAR has to offer. But when you look at it, obviously Daytona should not be a track that's deciding a championship. What should be deciding a championship are your 10 best, most technical tracks, in my opinion, which is why you get to the end of the year. And I just feel that, again, there should be a playoff format. It should just be a 10-race chase.
I think personally, it should be either 4-3-3 or 3-3-4, and maybe you can deviate. You could do 16 first round, 12, and then 16 to 12, 12 to 8, and then the 8 drivers in the last race for that, or you could do 16, 8. And then 4 race for a championship.
I mean, look at what we do in OMA, for example. I mean, yes, you have to have a 36 race schedule, right? And how we break it down, we do the 3 and 3. That's not my argument. My thing is just more of like, why not open the playoff window? I mean, I guess if you feel 12 weeks is too much, I get it. It's a long, long time, but at least you can balance it out to 4, 4, and 4 if that's something they want to consider. The other issue I still have is I don't know how I feel about a super speedway being in a championship round with Talladega.
Yeah, it would. But if you do the 4 as the final, then you have what's the race before Talladega? But you have
I think.
Las Vegas. So yeah, you have mile and a half, plate track, and then Martinsville. So it's like it's not the greatest, but I mean they've already set the schedule for next year, so it's kind of hard to change that. You can't change that around. So it's like
no, and that's the point that. If NASCAR does adopt a new playoff format, you're going to inherit what the schedule is. And again, I know things will be fine-tuned and adjusted and so on. But the other thing, too, and I guess the other question is, what do you do about playoff points? Because, like, the way that all works with the rounds, I don't exactly know if you get to the championship round, somebody should start with an advantage on playoff points. So, right. So it's like there's a lot they're going to have to figure out how they're going to want to get to work it. But regardless, I think it's going to be exciting. But we're about 30 minutes in. I do want to go to the other race now, the day prior, the Xfinity race, because Jesse Love, I'm a big Jesse Love fan for the record. I love Connor Zilic. He is he is the future of NASCAR. I will sit there and say it. I love Jesse Love's personality and so on. To see him go on and just win the championship is a great thing. By the way, too, I don't know how you guys feel about this, but from a general sports fan perspective, a NASCAR fan perspective, did anybody have an issue with anybody that was in that Final Four winning a championship? Like, yes, Zilic should have won the championship. But Does anybody dislike, I guess you could say, who was in that Final Four? Of like, if they win the championship, it's like great for them. Like for example, Denny can be viewed as a bad guy to some people. I don't feel there was a single bad guy in the Final Four. That's just my opinion, though.
I would say, I'll let you go first.
All right. I was gonna say, I mean, not a single bad guy, but I'd say one person that I didn't think does not deserve, but just I didn't think should be there would probably be Quaffle. Yeah, exactly. I mean, he kind of backed into it, getting in there, but I mean, looking on the outside, and I mean, Mayer, Mayer probably wouldn't have gotten it anyways, but I mean, Mayer could have got in, and just a few other guys, but I mean, he hasn't won a race. He didn't really do much to get in there. He was just consistent enough, really, to get in there.
Well, the other thing is too is like, yeah, I agree with Quapple, but it's just more of at the time, I think, is too when he goes in. Obviously, now we know he's going to have a full-time ride next year. At the time, he didn't. So it was like, a little revenge story there.
Well, full-time is stretching it. It sounds like to me he's going to be doing something like what Raja's doing next year. And he's going to be, because Connor Zilch is already confirmed to be in that car for a couple races. So right. Whether they open it up to a fifth car, or he drives for another car, is still left up to decision. But I'm not 100% sure. That's at least what I took from it, and kind of what I heard and like from what I read on tweets. So
I say the JRM situation's a little wacky for next year, by the way, because like you don't know what's going on with the 88. The 9's already announced to run part-time races. The 1 is being split between the two. So, like, Justin Allgaier, we know is coming back. Obviously, I would imagine Sammy Smith is coming back. But, like, beyond that,
it's a really weird situation.
What is going on? It's just, it's really, really weird. We mentioned that last episode, too. So, we'll have to wait and find out, what happens there. But, I mean, I don't know. I just look at that race too. And by the way, that was the only race that didn't have any anarchy to decide it at the end. Connor Zilch, it just wasn't enough at the end of the day. Junior Motorsports didn't bring its best car to the track for either the 7 or the 88. And Jesse Love executes on a pit stop, puts himself in the right spot. And by the way, too, I don't know how you guys also felt about this, but what a weird, wacky dynamic that was going on there, too, because Eric Almirola wins the team owners championship for Joe Gibbs Racing. He was in that mix in there. And Austin Hill also, who everybody forgets, even though he lost all his playoff points, he didn't lose that in the team owners points. He still had a chance as well, you're right, to win the team owners championship. It was like, that is, to me, in my opinion, when you want to look at examples of why this playoff system has its flaws, not just the champion outcome, but just more of like everything that's going on. It felt like nobody knew what was going on throughout that race. And yes, there wasn't many cautions to go through from it, but I don't know how you guys felt, but at times I felt myself lost of what I'm watching throughout the race.
I want to jump back into your previous question. And something we talked about earlier is Matt Crafton. So say Carson Quapple runs up front. He's yet to win a race this year. He's the only junior car that didn't win a race this year. And say he runs up front and finishes third like Kyle Larson did. He is now the second champion who wins 0 races. And I would say he was the least deserving driver to make it out of the round of 8. I mean, Brandon Jones won races. Sheldon Creed has been there all year. He's had a lot of DNFs. Not all of them were his fault. He was caught up in Austin Hill shenanigans. To say that. Sam Mayer won races. I mean, he steps into a new team for the 3rd time in 3 years or 4 years, I think. Wins races. And then you've got Sammy Smith, who had a chance to dump Taylor Gray, and he didn't. And, I think that has to do, and I didn't really get to talk about this, unfortunately, but I think that has to do with the fact that he didn't want to get into a fight, and personally, I don't blame him, but just wasn't really deserving. I mean, shout out to him, he made the Final Four, but I just wanted to touch up on that.
Well, I was going to say this, and TCB, I'll present this to you real quick. I mean, to me, at the end of the day, rather love wins the championship or so on. What you have to be proud of, in my opinion, is Chevy's dominance, in my opinion, of what we saw in the Xfinity Series this year. Because for them to win as many races as they did, and again, it's a little weird, right? Almirola wins the Owners' Championship, so technically Toyota won something when it was all said and done. But for them to have the entire Final Four, and I know Sammy Smith, for example, he was a guy looking out. That's another Chevy right there. And you look at, obviously, Creed, Mayer, they're both Fords. They don't get the chance to advance. For Chevy to say that they had the entire top four and they put together 5 really strong contenders, I would say, throughout the year for a championship. You got to say that's a huge statement. Now, like what Chevy did this year in Xfinity Series, I mean, that is, well, I'll break the fourth wall here on TikTok. That's boots to asses. That's the best way I could put it. Like they kicked everybody out. That is the best way I could put it for Chevy. They dominated this year in the Xfinity Series.
But
They did, and Tim, we're gonna hop back actually just real quick to one thing that you said about the broadcast in the race, like not really knowing what the heck was going on because like there's the owners championship and then the drivers championship. And I'll say this, I don't know if it's like F1 that's really caused this whole owners championship thing to become a thing, but I mean, me and I'm sure you guys also, and please chime in, we don't care about the owners championship. Me personally, at least, I don't care about it. And to the newer fans that, I mean, it's not like F1 where they're like, here's the drivers championship. Oh, and this guy made it in, this guy. And then like, oh, here's the owners championship. Like they don't really sell you on it all year. So now that it's like the final race, they're just like, oh, but hey, we haven't talked about this for the past 33 weeks, but this is the final for the owners championship, and it's confusing everyone. They're like, what the heck is going on? What owners championship? And then at the end of the race, Jesse Love's doing a burnout, and then you've got Almirola doing a burnout. They don't even show it. And again, I'm going to say this again. I'm with my girlfriend. I'm like, I hear someone doing a burnout. Who else is doing a burnout? I don't see anything. I have to go on Twitter and scroll and see Almirola's doing a burnout. And I'm like, why? What is happening? And then I see he wins the owner championship. So that thing is a mess every year. And I feel like every year they just try to make you care more and more. I don't, and I will never care. Stop making me care, please. Now,
they don't advertise it. How are you ever supposed to know, man? It's like,
right.
It's so frustrating. It's so, and for me, I'll say it. I don't like that you win an owner's championship and then you go and do burnouts while an actual champion is going on. Go do a burnout in turn 1. Like, get away. Like, I don't know. That's to me like you're having an emotional moment. I mean, Jesse Love has won a champion. He's the youngest champion of all time. I think that's at least what I read. Maybe that's for another series, but I mean, you're having an emotional moment with Jesse Love, who's won a championship, and on the contrary, you've had somebody who dominated the season who's sitting on pit road crying, and I don't blame him for crying. I would cry too if I've won 10 races, had a top 5 streak of 18 races, and I lose a champion because my car wasn't great in the final race. And then you have Eric Almirola doing burnouts. Come on, bro. Sorry.
I was just saying that's the thing. Here's the thing, and again, obviously, I'm a little 50-50 about Almirola. Obviously, his last Phoenix win, I was not very happy, and it had nothing to do with the fact of he walled Bowman. It was how he did it. But like, I understand they won the owners championship, but for example, Ryan Blaney won the championship or won the race yesterday in the championship race. I mean, Blaney's notorious for not doing burnouts, but like, to me, if you win the race, okay, do a burnout. Almirola didn't win the race. Like, yes, you didn't win the drivers' championship. You didn't win the race. Why are you doing a burnout? Like, that's the thing I just don't understand. You don't have the right to do a burnout, in my opinion. It's either the winner or the champion. It's like you're trying to make something up. It doesn't feel deserving. And like your point, TCB, I'll say this as a member of NASCAR media. I don't care about the owner's championship because unless there's penalties, at the end of the day, like, it's going to be with this format, at least, more often than not, the driver wins the championship, wins it, and this is just one of those weird circumstances. But again, when I don't know what the heck is going on throughout the race, who's racing for what, it's like, what is going on? And it's not the broadcast's fault. It's NASCAR's fault that this is absolute anarchy. And again, give me a reason why I should care. I don't care that the teams are making more money. They're not putting money in my pocket. So they're not making the tickets any cheaper to go watch races. So why do you care? So that's what I have to say about Eric Almirola.
I want to just say I don't even think Austin Hill, if he won the championship, would have done burnouts. Now I could be wrong, and I might be wrong, but man, I don't know. That was.
Can you just imagine? Can you just imagine what the fans were thinking that like don't know, they like the fans that sit there with just the headsets, not the plugged in headsets with MRN and everything. They're just sitting there. They see Jesse Love won the race, and then all of a sudden the 19's doing burnouts. I'm sure they're confused as hell. Why is this guy doing a burnout?
Did this dude just go rogue and start doing burnouts?
My first thought would be thinking that Jesse Love got a black flag and never served it, and NASCAR just deemed the 19 the winner. That is literally the only thing I'd be thinking in my head. Like, what is going on here? But then it'd be like, why isn't Zilich doing burnouts? Like, what is going on?
Well, the issue, I'm going to go back to this. The issue is that they don't advertise who's in there. I knew that Austin Hill made it because of a clip of his radio. I knew Eric Almirola made it because of an Instagram post. I have absolutely no idea. I know that Connor Zilich made it, duh, and probably Justin Allgaier made it. But besides that, I have no idea who else could have made it. I mean, it's just, once again, you don't advertise these things. Sure, there's on the NASCAR app, you can go to the Owners' Championship. Nobody does it. I do it. Nobody else probably does it. Not a lot of people. But it's just like, if you're going to talk about something on the broadcast, you have to talk about it through the year. I mean, sure, they might have mentioned it every other race about this Owners' Championship. And I will give CW credit. I feel like they did a great job broadcasting the races. It's a mile above Fox, and I'm sure we're gonna get to that pretty soon. But it's hard. There's always gonna be struggles with broadcasting, and that's just something everybody has to come with. Going back to yesterday's race, I mean, they didn't really even talk about Blaney winning the race. And everybody didn't even know. I mean, they saw Brad Keselowski winning, and then he just sails it off into turn 3 and 4 and missed the corner.
You gotta feel for Brad Keselowski.
Oh, I know, bro. He played it perfectly. Him and Ryan Preece. Man, if Ryan Preece would have won the race, I think I would have still been pissed off about the whole Denny Hamlin situation.
Wouldn't be the person sitting next to the RFK social media admin at that particular moment, because that
I saw the
been like
screenshot of the post being ready to be sent. That was hilarious. I mean there's some good personality on X.
Yeah,
Twitter.
they're the best. They're the best.
But TCB, my question for you also just about Connor Zilich. I mean, where does he go from here? He knows in his head he is a champion, but he's not a champion. His best friend's a champion. Like, how do you overcome this? And by the way, too, I just want to mention, Jesse Love said, I can't say what he fully said in his answer, but I don't give a blank. At the end of the day, I get all these benefits from this. And yes, I want to race my best friend, to be a champion. I'm going to race him hard, but my goal is to beat him. I think about him always. Now, next year, he won't have him. So, like Connor Zilich, he won't have his compadre of Jesse Love going against. What does he have to do going to his Cup rookie year, and where does he go from here? Because, again, we all agree he should have been a champion, but he's not carrying that championship swagger mentality to 2026.
So I'm so glad that you asked me this, man, because you know what? And I'm going to refer back to my girlfriend again. Like I said, last year was her first year of really watching NASCAR. This year, she watched from Daytona all the way down. She fell in love with Connor Zilich through the year. I asked her, who's a driver that you fell in love with in the Xfinity Series? She said Jesse Love and Zilich, right? So with that being said, she asked me, she goes, hey, Connor's not running Xfinity next year. I mean, and obviously he's heard about not winning the championship. What's next for him in the Cup? And my first answer to her was, he's not going to dominate like how he did in Xfinity. He's not going to win 10 races. No one has won 10 races since Larson back in 21. And before that, it's been maybe another, I guess Harvick or whatever. But it doesn't happen very often in the Cup Series. And unfortunately, I hate to say it, but I don't think it's going to happen next year with Connor Zillage for sure. I'm 99% sure it's not. I mean, I could be wrong with that 1%, but I don't, man, I mean, I don't want to put the guy down and say, he might not win a race. I mean, he might get a road course win, but I think what's really next is just for him to just keep building up like season after season. Okay, get a win here and then maybe get a win there. And I mean, he's a great driver, great talent. I think he's going to become maybe my most favorite driver in a few years or maybe even next year. Who knows? But the ceiling is up to here right now, right? Because 10 wins, this top 5 streak, the whole 9, right? But now you're going into a whole new game, right? You just unlocked a whole new level. It's like NASCAR 25 when you get into career mode. You got a not underfunded car, but I guess you're starting here now, and the ceiling's here. So I know I just kind of rambled, but man, I just don't know what his next thing is. I mean, other than just go out there and just try to win races, you're not going to win 10, and I'm not going to say he's not going to win the championship, but the expectations definitely have to be brought down for sure. And I think we all have to bring the expectations down a little bit.
Well, I was about to say it's interesting based on who you ask, right? For example, Denny Hamlin, if you talk about the bar that you're giving the example of, right? Denny Hamlin expects for, let's say this is the middle of the bar, Denny Hamlin expects for the rookie year of Connor Zillage to be like down here as the starting plateau.
I think that's completely valid. I mean,
I think that is. Go ahead, Drew.
I don't expect him to win a race. I mean, that might be a shot. I mean, that might be hot take, but he in his starts he didn't look that great. I mean, he wasn't, and I'll give him credit. I know he wants to win, but he's not going to give it 110% like if he was racing Xfinity Series. But I mean, I'm optimistic is what I'll say. I think he'll start to get it like Shane did at the end of the year, where he'll start to do better. But in those first 10 races, I don't expect him to do the greatest. I mean, I expect him to run up front and do pretty good at the road courses. But ovals, I have to see something from the ovals, and the plate tracks. I think it's going to be I don't want to say an opening up your eyes moment, or I can't think of the actual term for it, but I think it's going to be brought down to reality.
Well, I'm glad you just mentioned that. Go ahead.
Sorry, could I just ask a question? I want to open up a question for both of you guys. So, do we think Connor Zillage is going to be like Ty Gibbs? Do we think that he's going to maybe run just as good? Maybe first 10 races, I totally agree with you, Drew. First 10 races, maybe not that good. Maybe then he gets it together by 600. Do we see him becoming like Ty Gibbs, maybe getting second places, third places, but just not getting that win year after year, possibly?
I don't know, man. I'm just going off of his Cup starts previously. I mean, he qualified well at Coda, and then had the issue with his teammate. And then he was supposed to run Watkins Glen, and then got hurt. So he didn't get to run, and then he ran Atlanta. Were his 3 races that I at least remember him running. I think he also ran Charlotte.
He ran the 600.
600, yep. And I think he crashed out, or he just didn't run well. He ran like high 20s, mid 20s. He ran about there, and it's just so hard to say, man. It's so hard to say.
His only good real showing in the Cup Series was Atlanta, and that was kind of it. So. To me, yeah, no, absolutely. But it was like, again, though, it's hard to judge because, like, for example, and I don't want to compare him to Chase Elliott, but like we saw what the first 5 starts looked like for Chase Elliott, and that Hendrick, what was it, 25? I don't remember. Was it 25, 24? Definitely wasn't 24, 25 when he was making those part-time starts. And obviously, I mean, Chase had a bunch of issues and so on, but I'm not saying that car's now funded for Zillage. That's not the case, because definitely, I mean, Coda and so on, the road courses, it definitely was. But my point is more of, I view it as, it may not be the most prepared car that, compared to the other guys that they're focusing on, that it's about getting him the experience. And I don't know, because the best comparison, I'll put it like this, is Joey Logano is the closest that we can compare to, looking at the youth of the age for Connor Zilic coming up and the opportunity. But when I think about it, and Joey Logano, again, 3-time Cup Series champion, whether you like it or not, he's won a bunch of races and so on. Joey didn't show up right away, but when I think about Connor Zilic and why it's just so hard to compare, I view Connor Zilic so many steps ahead of where Joey Logano was when he came to the Cup Series that it's like, it's hard for me to sit here and say that Connor Zilic isn't going to do something spectacular. I'm not saying right off the bat, but at least in the Cup Series in his first season. And I'll compare it to quarterbacks in the NFL. The way I separate good quarterbacks from bad quarterbacks are when you have your first season, I want to see something spectacular. You don't have to have the greatest season, but I need a baseline. I need to see something great. I need to see growth and potential. Connor Zilic, nobody expected him to win more than 2-3 races this year in the Xfinity Series. Yet he won 10 plus. Like that's just the crazy part about it with Connor Zilic is that he surpassed the bar. So my thing is, why set the bar low again and just expect that because he did it once, and by the way, no truck experience, showed up and immediately raced in the Xfinity Series against some big veterans and competed. Why can't he do that again? I'm just saying, I really think Connor Zilic can do something in the Cup Series next season. And to me, you put him head-to-head with Chastain, I think he can compete a lot better with Chastain than what you think he can. So I don't know. I think Connor Zilic could be a borderline 2025 or 2026, playoff driver. Do you guys feel the same? Because I don't know. That's where I sit on that.
We'll see.
I kind of could see that. I mean, obviously, I don't see him winning 10 races again, but
no, definitely nobody's winning 10 races next year in the Cup Series. That's insane. The balances.
Yeah. But yeah, you do make a good point. Like that is still a funded car. I mean, it's going to be fast no matter what. And I could see him definitely. I do see him like winning like Sonoma. I feel like he'll win at Sonoma or something like that. He'll get his one-off win this season. And if he does improve on the ovals, kind of like, you know what, this is kind of like SVG. You look at SVG in the playoffs after he got knocked out in the ovals, like he was running good as heck. We all know that already. So next year I'm expecting him to do way better. And I'm expecting the same thing for Connor. He'll try to get it figured out throughout the year, get that Sonoma win like how I'm predicting now. And then come 27, I think once he's got the ovals figured out, I think the whole league is all going to be in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
I want to spend the last 5 minutes of this show talking about, because obviously we haven't talked about Corey Heim, but I want to talk about something while you're still at the topic of Zilic. The question is, who's more prepared right now to be a Cup Series driver? Because that's the true question. Is it Corey Heim or is it Connor Zilic? It's a really hard question because Corey Heim's been down there for a little bit now, and we all know we expect him, as by the way, to be a superstar. Yeah, I mean, he has the championship, unlike what Zilic unfortunately doesn't have and deserve to have. But it's a hard debate because both are going to be really good Cup Series drivers. I don't think there's anybody here that disagrees with that. But it's hard of who would I want in my seat right now? Because as much as I'm sitting here talking about Connor Zilic and the excitement, because he's something that we don't have very often, being as young as he has, and I really do think he's going to be very successful off the bat. I want Corey Heim in my car right now, in my opinion, with just not just the confidence, the ability, but like Corey Heim, unlike Connor Zilic, and I'll give him this, he's shown something this season in his part-time starts in the Cup Series, which gives you some optimism at certain tracks. So it's like, I'll start with you, Drew. Who would you feel is most ready for the Cup Series of the two at this point, going into the 2026 off season?
They both have their pros and their cons. I mean, I'll start with Connor Zilic. I mean, he's proved that he can race. I mean, he did that when he ran in IMSA and ran the MX-5 series. But he doesn't have as much experience. He doesn't have a championship, stupidly. And Corey Heim, I mean, they both they've both been, I would say, lackluster in their Cup starts. I mean, Corey Heim didn't run that well at his. I mean, I think he ran okay at Bristol. Kansas, he did not do well. I'm not sure how prepared his car was. So I think I have to give a very, very, very small edge to Corey Heim. Because I do think he's ready. I wish he would have maybe ran in the Xfinity Series, and I think he should have an Xfinity Series ride. I think he should have gone to Gibbs this season for this next season, but not everything works out like that. So Connor Zillage is great. I think in the next 10 years he'll have a championship, maybe one, maybe two. But I could also see Heim with one or two.
What about you, TCB?
I think I'm going with Corey Heim. I mean, as much as I love Zillage, I say Corey Heim, and I say this because of this. And I know I gave this guy a lot of grief last week on the show, Carson Hocevar. You look at Hocevar, he went straight from truck to Cup and instantly had speed. And I've heard on other podcasts and other shows where guys in the industry say, oh, the truck drives more like the Cup car, which is why there's these guys that come from trucks are fast as soon as they get in Cup. So, and plus, you don't want to lose that experience or whatever, or not that experience, sorry. You don't want to lose that young talent right now, obviously. You want to try to get him in the car. So, Corey Heim jumping Xfinity and going straight to Cup, I think is going to be like the same thing that happened with Hocevar. Like, he's going to just pop off like that because they drive so similar, apparently. So, I'm going Heim, and I agree with Drew. Connor Zillage, he's going to win some championships in the future, and he's going to hopefully be the star of the sport. I'd love to see that.
Well, either way, I still think no matter what happens, you still have two really, really good drivers that are in the pipeline. And you know what the kind of sad thing is now that I think about it, though, is when both of these guys do come to Cup, who's going to be the next top prospect? Because I'm going to be honest with you, beyond these two, there's nobody that stands out right now that's like, wow, I want them in my Cup Series seat. Outside of Jesse Love, I guess you could say, who just won the Xfinity Series championship, that it's like, I don't know. I don't know, but we'll see. The stories will only continue to tell themselves. I'm sorry, go ahead.
If we're going to talk about prospects in the truck, you've got maybe 2 or 3 guys. I think you got Ty Majeski, Caden Honeycutt. I'm excited to see what he does in a Tricon car next year. And then you've got Lane Riggs. And then for Xfinity, you've got Taylor Gray, who's always been there. I'm excited to see what so.
Well, and that's the thing. The Xfinity Series, it feels like it needs more. And obviously now not having Connor Zillage, I mean, Jesse Love, all the pressure is going to be on him to go back-to-back, really, because to me, if he wins back-to-back, there's no reason why he shouldn't be in the Cup Series. But it also comes down to what's the path for Jesse Love? Is it going to be Kyle Busch retiring? Is it going to be Austin Dillon, retiring? Well, by the way, too, is Austin Hill ever going to come to the Cup Series? Like, I felt like he got his opportunity first before Jesse Love, and he's been kind of stuck there. So the ladder of progress is kind of limited right now with these top teams. I mean, look at as well for Hendrick, right? Obviously, the 48 is the most open spot, but for Junior Motorsports and that ladder, like, unless Junior Motorsports starts a team, there's not much opportunity there. How about Joe Gibbs Racing, by the way? Until Denny Hamlin retires, I mean, Chase Briscoe, he's locked himself in. I don't think Joe Gibbs is going to fire his grandson anytime soon, considering the fact that he also is a team owner of the Xfinity Series with them. And when you look at it, I mean, through else, I mean, the 20-car Christopher Bell, even though he didn't win the championship or make the Final Four this year or the season prior, like, he made multiple Final Fours prior to that and is a constant contender for a championship every year. So it's like, I don't see anybody going there. Obviously, 23-11, we don't know what's going to happen with the lawsuit. That may be opportunity, but it's like, my point is that for a lot of these guys, top seeded rides coming up through the system, they're going to be very thin. And I just find it very interesting to see what happens and how this sport moves moving forward, because I feel right now there's, yes, we see silly season, but it's not as big as what it used to be. You don't see as much turnover as what we used to be. So I don't know how much change we will see in the Cup Series over the next 2 to 3 years. But my point is, if you're a Jesse Love or so on, I don't really know how you're going to get these high tier funded rides, even though you're accomplishing all these things, because there's just not that much space for them at this point in 2025. But I want to wrap things up here because we're just hitting the 8 o'clock hour. And again, I want to congratulate Eddie and Tropper as well for an excellent weekend in Phoenix. And a thank you to everybody in Motorsports Day for what has been a beautiful 2025 coverage year. 11 races in total we ended up covering in between an 11 race weekend. So I'm very thankful for the opportunities. I want to thank everybody at NASCAR and all the other tracks as well that have given us the opportunities to cover our tracks. And the coverage here on Motorsports Day doesn't stop on TikTok. It doesn't stop on the radio WRSU. We will be here during the off season every single week live for you here. So do not think we're going anywhere anytime soon. But from Tyrell Baker, from Jewah, as well as, again, everybody from Motorsports Today, reminder that you can use promo code MToday for $20 off your first purchase online at SeatGeek, and you can listen back to this show on Spotify, or as long as it fits here on TikTok and other platforms, and stick right with us on Twitter and Instagram. But I've been Tim Moore saying so long here from Motorsports Day in this Monday edition. We'll see you on Friday live on the air.